So how my drawing style works, and it's really hard to capture on camera because it's really small when I zone in really good, but zoomed out, like when I first start, it starts off really loose and really large. And the more toned in and tuned in I get, the larger it gets. So it starts off like that, a little bit more crazy, and then when the frequency gets really tuned in, it goes like that. And in order to read it, um, you have to be like fully in the now moment. So the closer that you are to the now moment, the better that you can actually read it like accurately. And then by being in the now moment, you're both in the future, the past and the now moment simultaneously. And that's kind of how it works. Um, it's sort of like a manual way of putting myself into like a void state where nothing exists but this one focus, and then whatever thought I choose to think. And when I fully get tuned in, there's literally no thoughts, like nothing. It's just drawing. Um, but because I'm reading from the camera, it's not really the same format because I'm. I mean, you could see like a face in there and stuff, but that would be the zoomed out perspective. Zoomed in would be zooming into like as small as that. Like that's an eye right there. You see the face, there's an eye. So that would be like the now moment. Like a little kid on the throne, like that's how much in the now moment I have to be in order for this to work. And then letting go of my arm, and then bringing up all of my energy into the third eye and the crown, and like letting them work together, and then just letting my physical eyes read. It's kind of like an advanced form of reading. I call it scripture because of how it works. Um, and then you could tell from other drawings, you get the optical illusion effect from being in the now moment. Because what happens is basically I'm so much in the now moment that it's like I zoom out of the 3D. So the 3D is looking from this perspective, and then this perspective, so the duality. The 4D is looking at the third party perspective of this direction and this direction, so the third party of those two. So if you were to be in the middle of like one person here, and they have superimposing sights, and then you're up here, but you're watching both of them, and you feel like you're kind of indifferent, but maybe you're not necessarily super indifferent. So that creates another split where you're actually in two places. So if you're to think of like these are the two people fighting, you're here, but you actually get a split in here, which is a fractal. So you get 4 fractals from this event. And then zooming out, you realize that all of this is the same person in a way. So then you get to the like 5D and this 4D, 3D. Like right now I'm smelling things that like I'm not physically doing right now. So that's one of my senses. Like right now I'm smelling hot chocolate and I'm not even drinking hot chocolate, and it smells so good. Which could be a morphic field, or it could be all the way into like parallel realities that I'm feeling into. Because you can feel into like infinite realities simultaneously, and it can get weird up to a point where you feel like you're embodying like at least 3 different bodies at the same time. So it can get kind of weird. The most weird part for me is actually being more in the 3D it just feels like really dense and heavy, and honestly, like half the time I don't necessarily like it as much unless I'm doing something that's like really fun. Something that's really fun in the 3D is usually more like nature stuff, or like, I guess that would be more like 4D, 5D is usually nature stuff. So like 3D for me, it'd be like animation. So like animation, for example, that would be 3D. And then this for me is like 4D, 5D, so my consciousness gets raised really rapidly, and if I'm listening to absolutely nothing, I'd raise it even higher. But it's kind of a way I could get to like the subconscious manually too, and like program it that way. It's also how I can communicate with others on a different dimensional plane. So I'll show you that layer of duality here. Right now I'm just experimenting with doing this stuff and listening to audio and seeing like how it affects my mental capacity, frequency, and all that stuff. So that would be the first layer of duality, and then you get the kind of, like, I call it more of like a landscape profile of it, because it kind of looks like a landscape when it's like all flattened out. And then you zoom out to the vulture perspective and you get that, and then you zoom out like even more, you get all that, and then you start rotating it, and then you get that dimension, and then by rotating it you start getting to the mandalas, which I guess would be, I don't know, like 60 or something. What would that be? We're at 5D, and that's the zoomed out, so that's this perspective, so to speak. So then if I rotate it, that would add in the next layer, which then creates the energetic portal of energy goes in one way and energy goes in the other direction. Because these are designed typically to have both energies in it. So like, so I'd do that, the flow state. Because after I do this calibration, it ends up going into, like, for me, a flow state of like simplification, which is like cartoons and stuff. And this is more like chaotic and stuff. And then there's another one where I do we'll see if it works, but sometimes it's like a drum drawing effect of doing the same thing. Yeah, I could really feel the third eye activating on this one. I'm probably doing technomancy at the same time, without even realizing it. Well, I'm just having fun. Life is evolving around me. Yeah, so that would be the drum drawing, and so you can see like an entity right there. And if you were to put an eye here, that's an eye. You could put an eye there. So it's like eyes and mouths, and that's the easiest way to like read it. And then you get, boom. And then you can see the people and stuff. At least from my perspective, I see it as people. Because if you think about it, like we as humans, as beings, you know, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a complicated way of explaining it, I suppose. So anyways, comment down below what you got out of this, and blah blah blah. One last comment is, so the spiraling effect is the mandalas. So I take this that it's already charged with all the energy that I put into it, and then spin it around, and then it turns into a double layered mandala. So if I wanted to, I could make a chaotic mandala and have that either siphon chaos energy or like output it.